Welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast, bringing you authentic and vulnerable stories that will inspire you to breathe fire on this world and become your own hero. Here's your host, Blaise Hunter.
Hello, welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast. I'm Blaise Hunter, and I am a fertility expert. No, I don't help people get pregnant. This is a different type of expertise. I actually inspire women to birth confidence, to birth their books and business ideas, dreams, passions, and goals, as well as discover peace amongst infertility. So after going through my own sets of traumas and tragedies, dealing with a rare disease and experiencing 3 miscarriages, I decided to take charge of my life and not let life happen to me, but rather become the hero of my own life. I am not barren. I continually birth my purpose every day. So that's why I've created this show, to demonstrate how even though we all experience setbacks and disappointments, we still have a destiny to birth. We just need to blaze the trail and be expecting. This podcast will inspire you to lean into your hardships and allow them to be the vehicle that transports you into becoming the hero of your life so you can breathe fire on this world. This week's episode is called Appetite for Life, and some points we'll cover are the connection between being hungry for food and having an appetite for life, how destiny, timing, and decisions are key to building a successful career, and the importance of having a strategy in your business. And I have my guest here, Chef Lizette, to speak on this topic. Chef Lizette is the owner of Chef Lizette Entertainment, a lifestyle brand advocating living more healthy using food as the foundation, one dish at a time. Over the past 25 years of feeding the public, Chef Lizette has cooked for over 5 million people, including 5 U.S. presidents. As a speaker, she works with organizations, private clients, and schools across the country, giving engaging talks and cooking presentations focused on wellness and nutrition. Throughout her career, it's been Chef Lizette's joy to work with community-based organizations such as the American Heart Association and wonderful people like Lady Gaga, Tom Hanks, and James Cameron. Welcome, Chef Lizette, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. What a complete pleasure being here.
Oh, this is so amazing. I've seen some of your YouTube videos, and just your passion, your energy, and all your wisdom just exudes out of you, and I'm just excited to have this conversation with you. So thank you so much.
Of course.
So, got a little bit of your fantastic bio. Can you just give us a glimpse into what sparked this passion for food and how you became a chef?
Yeah, it's been 30 years now, and it really started very basic and very simple, which is Sunday dinners with my family. More than 20 of us would pack my grandparents' house together in Los Angeles, and that's where it all started. And it's so interesting because I never even considered it as a career or even a passion. But life has a way of circling you back to the exact thing that you need. And so, I was, 18 or 19 when I started really just getting into it kind of on a more serious level. I was watching a lot of PBS, the public television, and just, that's where I discovered Julia Child, the legendary Julia Child, and Jeff Smith, Ming Tsai, Emeril Lagasse, Wolfgang Puck, Jacques Bazin, so many other, Martha Stewart, of course, just iconic figures in the food world. And so just watching all of those shows, and again, not even thinking that would be a career, but just wanting to cook with them and try the recipes that they were doing on their shows. And before you know it, I just completely fell in love and immersed myself with baking originally. Like, that was how I got into the food world, just making cakes at my mom's house and, playing around with different ingredients. I will say, aside from Sunday dinners and Julia Child, my mother, hands down, is my complete muse. She's still, thank God, the best cook that I know on the planet. I don't know anyone else who is anchored with more love and zest for cooking for other human beings than my mother. And so I'm just kind of trying to keep up with her example. And yeah, so that's little by little, I really started to think about it on a more serious level. I first did actually think I was going to be a buyer for the fashion industry.
Oh, wow.
So I went to FIDM, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandise in Los Angeles, and I absolutely treasure fashion to this day. But at that time in my life, I was still very young, just getting out of high school. I didn't like that my passion, meaning fashion, there was a business aspect to it. And so at that age, that young of an age, I didn't care for that part of it.
Right.
And so, but congruently, I was also baking more and getting more serious and actually getting better the more I practiced my cooking. And eventually went to UCLA, had a culinary program, and then away you go.
That's awesome. It's so great to have, mentors in the public as well as like personal mentors like your mom to kind of pique that interest and mentor that for you, right? And encourage that. And also I always talk about the correlation of having an appetite for food and being hungry for life, because I'm a foodie, I'm Ukrainian, I'm all about the food. My tombstone is going to read, it's all about the food. Like that is my life's motto.
For sure.
But you know what? And I've always had this zest for life, and it made me take a step back and really realize the whole world seems to be on a diet. And if you're on a diet physically with food, then often we are dieting in our life and taking in experiences and passion. And so does that resonate with you? Like, how do you keep hungry for your purpose?
Talk about mentors in line with the people I mentioned, my mother and Julia Child. Right after that was Dr. Maya Angelou. Mm-hmm. One of the most prolific just queens. I don't consider her just a writer, but just queens that the United States has ever produced. And so I really caught her at a very young age. And so her statement of words are things was very important to me. So what you said right now is a very important word, meaning diet. Mm-hmm. And diet also speaks to a mindset.
Yep.
When you have a mindset of diet, meaning lean and not abundant, there's a real problem with that. And I think that we've gotten into this society. It's so interesting how paradoxically we're not just the most obese country in the world, but we're also obsessed with dieting.
Yes.
And with watching our weight. And, I come from Los Angeles. I live in New York. And, Los Angeles or even Hollywood land is obsessed with this toxic, very unhealthy perspective about what a woman in particular should look like. Mm-hmm. And so when you say the word diet, I run like crazy.
Me too.
Because I think, and also coming from, I was born in Mexico City. My brother and sister were born in the United States. So I'm, legally a citizen of both countries. And so what I wanted to say with that is that it just, being Mexican-American and like you, and I'm sure your family, of all of these extraordinary family meals, also causes you to maybe be a little overweight, right? Mm-hmm. Because you love food so much, because you do have a massive appetite for food and for life. You got to be careful with that. And so I'm a hardcore foodie. Probably, I don't know anyone who loves food more than me. And so there's a constant, I don't even want to say balance, there's a constant harmony that has to take place with absolutely loving and not monitoring and not depriving myself and not living in this diet society. I think that diet society actually only makes you more obese, not the other way around. Because again, it's about a mindset. When you have a diet mindset, you then have a lack of abundance mindset. And that carries forward into every area of your life. And that's not good. And what I'm particularly passionate about is changing the conversation for young people in particular, because words do matter. Images, social media, all of this stuff that's going on in society right now really matters in terms of imaging the children, both boys and girls, of what they're seeing and the messaging that's being fed to them.
Absolutely. And like you said, you're starving yourself of nutrients, of energy, of experiencing food in general rather than dieting.
Correct.
Which die is in the word diet, right? Like you're setting yourself up for a very stale experience if that's the mentality you're taking in, right?
Correct. And again, I mean, I want to focus on the word abundance, because abundance goes both ways, right? Overabundance is gluttony, and that's not good, right? But having an abundant mentality and being confident, knowing that you have the self-discipline to have a zest for food, to have a hearty appetite for food, and just know how to manage that in your life, and know where to give yourself the wiggle room to have that, Cherry Garcia from Ben & Jerry's ice cream, like have really extraordinary meals without feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to gain 5 pounds from my favorite slice of pizza. Like it's just, it's a very depriving mentality. And whether people realize it or not, that compass, that mentality over time is an absolute driver in your other life decisions.
You're so right. And so, like I said, you said you've been in the business 30 years. You've developed your craft. Like, how do you stay hungry to keep going? Like, because sometimes people that have done it for so long and are so good at it, it becomes a little bit mundane. Like, how do you keep that hunger?
Oh, for sure. A gazillion times. I mean, I can't even count how many times I've been burnt out. Because, I mean, you just ask any creator who makes art. It could be music. It could be any form of art. Any artist who is honest with you will tell you that there's pockets where they just don't have it, where they're burnt out, where it's just too much. Because creating art, and food is an absolute art, is you're giving a piece of your soul every time you make a meal. And so what reinvigorates me every time is seeing other chefs, going to restaurants, learning, seeing how other people are doing it. I mean, chefs are literally my favorite people because they're the constant beacon, if you will, that always brings me back in, that always reminds me, no matter how hard it is, no matter what turbulation is going on in my job, like chefs always have a way of like being that lighthouse to remind me to always come home.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think, it's just so important to, like you said, to kind of adjust accordingly when you're feeling burnt out. Like I originally wrote my book and created Blaise the Trail business all because I'm trying to heal my body of a disease, and I'm trying to heal from heartbreak of losing 3 babies and just healing. So then I'm a type A, I'm all in, I'm passionate, and I go balls to the wall with my business. And then I've got to remind myself, this is too much. I'm being burnt out. And the whole reason I started this to have fun and lean into this, not to overstress. So then I have to adjust, right? I think it's always that check system within yourself being like, I'm not having fun right now. Then that's not the point, right? Like, I need to make sure I'm allowing for room to still have that hunger rather than burn myself out, right?
Right. So, you said something really important that I want to kind of really highlight, and that is type A.
Yes.
I think that the word type A, or that phrase type A, needs to have a better explanation.
Yeah.
Because I'm a type A. I think I hope that you have young people listening to your show. Every time I speak, my hope is that it's that demographic who's listening to this. And so I like to use the word extremist for type A's. And I don't know maybe if you've ever thought about yourself as an extremist, but you are. I already know you are.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a passionate.
So extremists, to further explain, they go either all in or not.
Yeah.
So you're either off or on. You're either hot or cold. And so food specifically, as you're talking about having an appetite for food, I know how to be an emotional eater and go all in. And I also know how to eat perfectly all the right fruits and vegetables, all the discipline that is needed to lose weight. I know how to do both very well. And I obviously get the results both ways. And so, it's super interesting that extremists are constantly battling with their extremism. And so I highly recommend for other people, because, I'm 49, almost 50, and what I have learned about extremism is not to judge it. It's fine. You just have to constantly be rooted in your awareness of what part of the spectrum you're in of your extremism. And again, not place judgment on any of your extremism. Just know how to bring yourself back to a place where there's harmony. I don't like the word balance, because, again, even the word balance is not explained enough. I think if you think of the word harmony, that means things are synchronistically flowing and aligned. I am a hardcore extremist. I know how to have my space and environment impeccably clean, and I also know how to go without washing the dishes for a week and not have a problem with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that extreme. And what has helped me the most, because one could say that extremism is bad or not healthy for you. I think if you stop judging that you're an extremist, then you don't beat yourself up. You're able to be kind to yourself, and you figure out the right way to navigate both spectrums of your extremism.
Absolutely. And speaking of extremism, yes, I totally am. I used to be a Zumba instructor because I loved it. I would like the intensity and the intense workout and just amazement. But because of my health, I had to kind of dial it back. I took Pilates, and the Pilates instructor was like, "Oh, Blaise, you're such a passionate. You go from point A to point Z, and it's about the journey." And I think that's probably a lot of our Achilles heel with extremists, is that it's about the goal. And sometimes we do need that check of sometimes it is about the journey, right? Not just the end goal, right?
Right. I'm still struggling with that paradox of the journey, right? That it's about process. It's about journey. I'm still struggling with that. I'm not going to be this person ever in any interview that always says the right things. I can tell you that my absolute vulnerability is wrestling with patience.
Oh, me too.
It just is.
Yeah.
I've had really important people leave my life suddenly and abruptly and too short. And even I can tell you that the game changer for me, absolute game changer, was September 11th. When September 11th happened, I was immediately rooted with a new sense of time and how exacting life can be, and how fragile life can be, and how tomorrow is literally promised to absolutely no one.
Yeah.
And all we literally have is this moment. You and me talking is the only moment that we have. And so, but I wrestle with that because extremists, we have ambition, we have appetite for life and for achieving and for contributing and for getting stuff done. And so it's a constant wrestling of anchoring myself with calm and peace so that patience, or lack of patience, I should say, doesn't get the better of me, which it has in many, many circumstances in life.
Oh, absolutely. You talk about September 11th. And yeah, like my pinnacle moment, it took many years to reflect on this moment, but 15 years ago, my dad faked his own death. And he came back, and we never spoke about it again. And then 2 years later, I developed a very rare disease, autoimmune disease. And so suffering through that 10 years, I started to go to a therapist. And it just started to really signal that I needed to reflect off that moment in my life of what happened. And just, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be, this isn't the end of my story as some sick girl. So I had to shift all of that and deal with it. And being sick has forced me physically to be in a rest mode versus always hyper achieving, overachieving, going. I've had my body's physically been like, no. And it's been an incredible opportunity for me to learn that about being patient. And it's been a gift, even though it's been the worst thing I've ever had to deal with. It's been the gift that I've probably needed my whole life, was to sit there and digest rather than always go, right?
Right. I can tell you something that I think will help even one person, and I hope that it helps more, but I think if that one person who's like really intently listening to our conversation, because this has been the game changer for me, and that is that there is no defining moment. So to add another layer to what patience looks like is there is no hallmark moment in your life. And that's both good and bad, right?
Right.
Whether you're on top of the world or you're literally at ground zero, there is no defining moment. The defining moment, if you're aware as a human being, is when something good or bad happens to someone else. When you are a witness to someone else suffering or someone else shining, that is your defining moment, not your own personal defining moment.
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can tell you that I will live, hopefully, a very long life, and the defining moment for me will always be September 11th.
Yeah. That's
and
crazy.
Even before that, I can tell you, my grandmother passing away in her home, and I was with her, literally next to her bedside, holding her hand, staring into her eyes as she literally gasped her last breath. And I could literally feel the presence of God in the room at that moment. That is my defining moment.
That's beautiful.
Like, not anything that ever happens to me, both good or bad, I have learned is my defining moment.
Right. Wow.
And so, like with COVID right now, it's a perfect opportunity, rather than people seeing the negative, it's a perfect opportunity to really pay attention to the suffering and injustice that is going on in the world, and use those experiences that other people are having of unemployment, of death, of real injustice, have those moments be your defining moment.
Well, and it's such a great opportunity to take the focus off you and have empathy. And I want to promote that of, like, we need more empathy.
Correct.
right? Like we
Correct.
need more of understanding
but
each other's
people
experiences.
Don't realize it's not even about when you are able to empathize with someone else. It's not a liberating moment that you're giving to someone else. It's not a beautiful exchange that you're giving to someone else. It's the exchange that you're giving to your heart.
Yes.
When you empathize for someone else, it is your hallmark moment, not theirs.
Exactly. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love how every podcast episode I do takes twists and turns, and I am always like surprised of where it goes, and it's awesome. Yeah. So thank you so much.
The same thing like forgiveness, right?
Yes.
My mother absolutely is a living, breathing angel on this earth, and she has taught me through very hard life examples that we've both experienced that it is not forgiving someone else that sets them free. It is forgiving someone else that sets you free. Forgiveness is about not being a good person to that other person. Forgiveness is about being good to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing was like with my dad, he came back into our life. He's still in our life. And I, for so long, held deep resentment and never even dealt with it. And I have an autoimmune disease that's your body attacking itself. So part of this whole healing journey is learning to forgive, not for my dad, but to stop drinking the poison for myself, right? Like to heal myself, to let it go, to ensure that I'm healing and being healthy is like, you have to let it all go. Like it's not for all those other people.
So
it's for me.
Did you have this autoimmune disease before your father did that?
No, 2 years later. Both me and my brother developed a rare autoimmune disease 2 years after he did that. It was
so I can tell you why, and I'm experiencing my own body pain. I mean, mind you, I also have body pain because I've been a chef for 30 years, on my feet 30 years. So the body is not meant to be upright for so many hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have a lot of residual pain from just being a chef.
Yeah.
But again, speaking to forgiveness or just traumas that happen in our life, that velocity is energetic frequency that lives inside your head, your heart, and your body.
Yeah.
And when you're experiencing really hard, traumatic moments like that, I mean, I can't even imagine what you went through. I went through 10 years of domestic violence, both verbal and physical. So, like, when you're talking about high-level trauma, and there's trauma at every level, but I'm talking about, like, high-level trauma, that energy literally starts affecting your physical body and your mind.
Absolutely.
And if you're not careful, and if you're not mindful of what's happening, and again, I mean, I'm just now learning these things at 49.
Yeah.
Hopefully someone smart is listening to this and they could save themselves a hell of a lot of time and legwork and really trust me on this. You know what I mean? Like, I would never steer anyone wrong from this. I've lived it. I'm a living, breathing example that trauma affects your mind and your body.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's, again, my journey too. Like, I'm a little bit younger than you. I'm 39, but I learned this 6 years ago. And yes, and there's that extremist in me is like, why didn't I learn this at 20? But you know what? You can't do that. I didn't know then. But now I'm starting it, and I'm starving the disease. And, you know, I caught it now, not at 50. I caught it now and working on that. And then hopefully I can teach the daughter that I do have to be even better younger, and then like be a ripple effect of the work that I'm putting in now, right?
I actually already, quite honestly, I already see you healed.
Yes, I think I'm just manifesting it and walking it out. I'm totally have undone the tight ribbon of it, but it's just coming undone, right? It's just walking that out.
Well, and let me tell you something. This is a very important part. I'm telling you this because I went through this same exact thing. When your body only knows trauma, when your body only knows hard times, it's a repetitive pattern. You don't know anything else. You don't have another reference point. You're stuck in drama land.
Yes.
And unless you make a really concerted effort to not want to continue to live in drama land and then congruently do the work to get yourself out of drama land, you will convince yourself that life is still hard, even when it's not. Because, again, everything's a habit. And so when you've been stuck in a habit of drama land for so long, you will make up stuff that doesn't even exist.
It's the stories we tell because they are the stories that you have built up in your mind and your heart for so long because of those traumas. And it's easy to do because it is your pattern, right? And it's so hard to be in that moment and be like, this is not how I want to keep doing it. So I'm going to step back away from the drama and the chaos and have inner peace. But that's a lot of work. And a lot of times I don't get it right because I've gotten back to that pattern. But then I'm aware, okay, I clearly missed the mark there. I'm going to do better tomorrow and try again because I know better, right? Like, it's a process.
Well, and listen, I mean, anytime I think about what is a wonderful experience, I just explained drama land, right?
Yeah.
Which is not a good place to be.
No.
I want to live in Disneyland.
Yes.
All day long. And let me explain what I mean by Disneyland, because many people could think that that's airy-fairy and not real and make-believe and, you know what I mean? What Walt Disney created was exploration. What Walt Disney created was an environment of joy. What Disneyland created is a multi-dimensional experience of freedom, of bringing that inner joy, no matter what age you are, and being able for that moment while you're in Disneyland to have just the most amazing, joyful experience. That's not to say unrealistic. That's not to say fantasy land. That's not to say, well, that's not realistic. I don't know a single human being on earth who hasn't been to Disneyland, and for that time that they were there, no matter what age, they completely let go of any trouble that they have in their life, and they're just happy. And so to me, I want to live in Disneyland every day, all day long. And not to mention, I mean, they created fun characters, in actual movies. And, to me, Disneyland is not just a recreational park. To me, Disneyland is a lifestyle.
Totally.
So do you want to live in Drama Land or do you want to live in Disneyland?
And it takes incredible intention and work.
Incredible. It's the whole thing. Like you just said the most important word of this entire conversation. End of story. We could wrap it up right there because there's no other word more important than intention. What is your intention? Do you have a willingness to change your life?
Yes.
I mean, I can say that despite I don't know how many self-help books or conferences or videos or readings or quotes. I can't even count how many of those things I've had in my life, even when I was going through domestic violence in my 20s. So you're not talking about decades of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. There were 3 words written simultaneously on my bathroom mirror for 4 years while I lived in Los Angeles, and it was I am willing. Mm-hmm. And I had it in lipstick, and it never came off, and I never changed it, and the steam and the shower of 4 years just was able to maintain it, I guess, on that mirror, and I woke up every single day to the belief of what Dr. Maya Angelou said, that words are things. And so I put the most important sentence in my life of I am willing, and every single day I read that.
Love it.
And so intention is saying to yourself, I am willing. Mm-hmm. And when you are willing, and when you have the right intentions, and you actually put in the work, it's just a matter of time before your life changes for good.
Exactly. And it's been I wouldn't change it for the world. I felt like I was going through the motions and not leading an intention life until I started making this one step. And it didn't go amazing overnight. It has been 6 years of hard work, but it's been totally worth it. My life has been a 180 for the better, and just opened my eyes and experienced life, because I was holding so much unforgiveness, resentment, and pain and trauma in my heart that I wasn't able to then experience love, right? Because I was holding it
Let me ask you this. And this is so personal, you don't have to answer it. Do you have a good relationship with your father?
It's healing now. Even in the last year, we're healing. And you know what was the difference? It was, I took a different approach. I was always having a hard, extremist, no. If he's not going to change, then no. Just a big wall. And then just about a year and a half ago, I just decided to change the approach to mercy. And I just decided to give my dad mercy and change the approach to a softer one. And it was a 180 in our relationship. He ended up living with us for a year while he got some work with us. And it's been an incredible process. So we are definitely on an amazing path together.
So let me ask you this. And after this, I really have to get going.
Yeah.
I want you to say 2 words to your dad. Literally, even after this interview, don't even do one thing. Don't even go grab a glass of water. Call him and say 2 words. Thank you. That's it.
Oh.
Not I love you. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you is very powerful. Thank you changes your life.
It does.
Because it's not even I love you is I love you. I love you is very easy. When someone has deeply hurt you, and the guy who spent 10 years abusing me, I literally don't even know if he's alive. I don't. I lost touch with him. I moved to a different state, so I know nothing about his life. I can tell you I hope and pray that he's well. I hope and pray that he's happy. And if he is alive, I hope and pray that I could say thank you.
Yeah.
I've said thank you many times, spiritually or just at church or in many different places. I've said thank you to him many times, but being able in person or over the phone to be able to say thank you, that makes your heart sing.
It changes the energy, right? It does.
100%.
It completely
and then everything is dropped at that moment. You don't need to, the healing is done. Because you're even saying that right now it's a process. I can tell you that the process ends today if you're willing to just say thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And realize that his pain and whatever rigmarole he had to go through to fake his death, which is unimaginable to me, and then come back.
Mm-hmm. You
know what I mean? Because he basically lied and deceived everyone that he loves. But just imagine the kind of pain and hopelessness he must have felt to do that.
Totally. But then the bravery to come back. That's where it was so brave. He didn't have to come back. Because that is worse pain to come back and face it, right?
Exactly. So I had the same experience, meaning not the same experience, but my best friend, 33 years, she's the only person that holds my childhood memories. She didn't fake her death. She had a real death. She committed suicide, didn't come back, and I would give anything to to have her, you know what I mean, come back. Your dad actually came back.
Right. It was a second chance, right? Like it was just a beautiful thing that
he gave not himself a second chance. He
No.
gave you and the whole world a second chance.
Yes.
So I think saying thank you ends it today.
Oh, that is powerful. What a twist of a conversation that has turned out really amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I never prepare for interviews. I don't do that. That's not how I do interviews. I just allow God to speak. So
I love that. And so, I know we're wrapping up here, but what then keeps you grounded and inspired to keep I am willing? What keeps you there? What motivates you to do that?
God. Mm-hmm. Very easy. I'm not, like, when you realize that you're not here, and this can get very heady, and people can either believe this or not. When you just realize that your life no longer belongs to you and you're here to serve on a real level, and take the good and bad that comes with that, then that's what keeps me inspired. This is not my life. I'm just a vehicle.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love it. Oh, so just to recap, we were going to really explore Chef Lizette's career and her points for business.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
It didn't matter, right? Because the appetite for life really shifted to the really meaning of life. And so the recap is that, the traumas, the drama can be turned into our Disneyland state of mind if we allow it to. Having that intention for your life and saying, I am willing to have that appetite for life, and the power of thank you. And thank you, Chef Lizette, for coming on and just, blowing us away with your deep insights and how we can have that appetite for life. So if people are interested in learning more about you, where can they go?
ChefLizette.com.
Wonderful.
That has all of my links out to all of social media.
Thank you so much for gracing me on my show today and get very vulnerable and real and just having this conversation. I just really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
If you want to learn more about my consulting programs, purchase my book, or have me speak at your next event, visit blaisehunter.com. I do have a free offer for everyone. When we get lost when we're driving, what do? We Google Maps it. So why not Google Maps our life when we're feeling anxiety and overwhelm? I have a free video on the free offers tab on my website. Go and click on that, and you can get a free video to help you when you're feeling overwhelmed in your day. That's it for this week's episode. Challenge yourself to be vulnerable, lean into the difficulties, and have those open conversations so we can rise up as the heroes of our lives and let us breathe fire together. If you've enjoyed this show, please subscribe and support Blaise the Trail podcast. Reviews are always welcome and very much appreciated. Thanks for listening. I'm Blaise Hunter.
You've been listening to Blaise the Trail with Blaise Hunter. To learn more about how you can breathe fire and unleash the hero within, or to listen to past episodes, visit blaisehunter.com.